Hey everyone, it's Tim from Linessa Farm Specialty and Heirloom Livestock. Thanks for joining us again today. We have a special treat for you today, something that we don't get very often here on our farm, and that is a sale barn special. We have a goat that has come here that I am helping someone out, getting this goat ready to go back to the sale barn from when she came. We're not gonna go through all of our introductions and happy things because we have a ton of stuff to do. The main problem that I know of with this goat, she has two problems. First problem that she has is she doesn't make milk worth a darn. Second problem that she has is her hooves are a mess. These hooves are probably the worst hooves I have seen on a goat in a very, very long time. The focus of our video basically is going to be how do I get a goat that I've never seen before up to par of where I want her to be in order to get rid of her. So a friend of ours, very nice lady, got this goat at the sale barn, had a couple kids on her. The kids were not able to nurse because the mom, lo and behold, doesn't make enough milk. So that's probably why she was at the sale barn. Other thing is her hooves are extremely overgrown. This lady, not any fault of her own, she has arthritis really bad, so she's not able to take care of the feet. So basically she called me, she said, hey, come on over, get this goat, help me out, and this goat is gonna go back to the sale barn. So some of you may say, well, why on earth would you take a bad animal to the sale barn? A lot of bad animals go to the sale barn. When we get bad animals that we can't do anything with, maybe they have birthing problems, milking problems, things like that, what are you gonna do? You don't wanna breed them because you don't wanna breed those genetics back into your flock or your herd. You can't sell them under good conscience to a customer off of your farm because you know that there's something wrong with them. That's just bad business, so they go to the sale barn. Am I saying that all animals at the sale barn are bad? No, not all animals at the sale barn are bad, especially if you know which flock or herd they came from. But again, anytime you're getting an animal from the sale barn, you have no idea what you're getting into. You have no idea what you're getting your hands on, and so you have to be extremely careful. A couple things I don't know about this animal. I don't know if this animal has any contagious diseases such as CL or anything like that. I don't know if this animal has ever been vaccinated against CD and T, so I don't know if she's vaccinated for Clostridium or for tetanus. I don't know anything about her other than she's got overgrown hooves and her bag is garbage on her. So here we are. So now I'm gonna have to take extra precautions to protect myself, protect the welfare. The paramount thing is protect the welfare and the well-being of this animal and protect the rest of my herd and my flock. We are going to take those precautions. I'm gonna walk you through it. I'm gonna explain why it is that I'm doing the things that I'm doing. And then she's gonna go into quarantine where she's going to stay by herself. And then from there, once I'm sure that she's healthy and she's not gonna die or anything like that, then I can take her to the sale barn and she can get cold or somebody's gonna buy her to breed her. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna bring her out here in a few minutes and we're gonna talk step by step as we go through. Before I bring her out, just to catch you up to speed as to where I'm at and why am I doing the things that I'm doing, here is some of the supplies that we have for today. She seems to be a pretty docile goat, so I'm not overly concerned about trying to handle her, but I always wanna have a halter present. This is for my safety and for her safety. I need to have a rag. I have a couple different hoof trimmers that I'm gonna use today. These are nice, sharp, run-of-the-mill hoof trimmers that I would recommend you get. Although if her hooves end up being really, really hard and difficult to cut, I will go with my old Burdizzo style hoof trimmers that can actually gnaw through some stuff that are a little bit harder. I would recommend the first time trimming a goat's hooves that you don't know, I would highly recommend trimming them by hand, not getting out the grinding wheel, going to town, anything like that. We don't know enough about the structure of the hoof at this point to do that. I do have a hoof pick. I've rounded off the corner of my hoof pick to make sure that it's not too sharp. While I do want to use this to get in there and help me clean out and visualize what I'm looking at, I want to make sure that this edge is not so sharp that I could potentially cut and or hurt her. I have some antiseptic spray in case I need to clean off the hoof or in case I need to fix a cut or a nick. And then something that's probably a little bit more off than what you're used to seeing, I do have tetanus antitoxin. So why in the world would I have tetanus antitoxin? Well, as I said, I don't know if this animal has been vaccinated against Clostridium type C and D and tetanus. And because of that, if I cause a wound in her foot when I'm trimming her hoof, if I cause a cut in her foot and then I cut her loose and let her start going out and about and stepping on that and getting dirt and things in it, there is a chance that she could contract tetanus. So for good favor, I am going to give her tetanus antitoxin. So the next question you may have is, well, why don't you just vaccinate her for CD and T? The reason I'm not vaccinating her is because that CD and T vaccine initially is a 2-series shot and it takes too long to start working effectively in the body. So if I were to injure her today and give her CDT today, it's not going to be in her system fast enough to offset potential tetanus that she may contract. I will give that later. So that's what the tetanus antitoxin is for. Don't ever give tetanus antitoxin and the tetanus vaccine at the same time. Probably probably not going to cause any problems, but you could potentially offset the effects of the antitoxin and the vaccine by giving them at the same time. Worst case scenario, you could cause that animal to have an anaphylactic response. That is to say, she could have an allergic response as her immune system kind of gets out of whack, and could end up causing her to go into shock and die. So those are the main things that I want to have on hand today. And then of course, I have my handy dandy bucket because this is what I'm gonna sit on. Now, some of you may have crushes, some of you may have fancy setup. I'm going to do this just for the average person that has nothing else, no supplies or no fancy tools, and I'm gonna show you how to do this. So we're gonna pull her off the trailer and we are gonna do a quick walk around with her and just give her a once over health check, and then we're gonna get busy dealing with those feet. So Tessa went ahead and haltered her for me. We've gone over videos on how to halter. If you haven't seen that before, you can check that out up here. Eyelids, partially pale, a little bit pink. She probably needs to be wormed, so we have that. Overall, her coat looks pretty good. This doesn't really mean anything. She's got a little bit of downy undercoat, but this time of the year, that's what I would expect. Body condition is fairly good. She's about where she needs to be as far as body condition, maybe a little under condition for what I would like. Feeling her bag feels good. I don't feel any hard lumps, anything like that in there. They're nice and soft. Teat structure is good. She's got 2 even teats. So, you know, if I didn't know any better, if I was looking at this animal at the sale barn, I would think, yeah, she's probably not too bad, but look at these feet. Look at that. Wowzers. And if you go around and kind of look at her feet, look at her front feet, you can see how bad those are. That is really something. So we have our work cut out for us. Now, some of the famous YouTubers out there that know everything about everything will tell you that, oh, the hooves don't grow, you know, if you don't feed them grain and you get them on pasture and yada, 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 they're not gonna grow like that. No, that's not true. Animals that get adequate nutrition, their hooves are gonna grow. If you think about it, how bad would I have to make your nutrition to where your fingernails stop growing? Pretty darn bad. Tessa's gonna bring her over here for me. I'm gonna grab my bucket. I'm gonna have Tess swing her around here so we get in the light where we need to be. And we're gonna try to make this as the least amount of stress on her as possible. Now the bucket is gonna come in handy for you because it's gonna break your back trying to do this. So what I like to do, I have a friend, I have my daughter here to help me out, and so it's gonna keep those horns from getting into my eyes. And we are just gonna flip this foot up and we're gonna take a look and we're gonna see what we can do. So I'm gonna check inside the toes here. You can see how that's nice and clean and fleshy. There's no weird smells, anything like that. And that's good. If you're gonna see hoof rot or scald, you're probably going to see it in there. So for as awful as these hooves are, they're actually fairly healthy. So I'm gonna get my pick in here and just gently clean this out. I gotta be careful because I don't know what is in there. So this is what's gonna cause a lot of times your hoof rot. See how this is folded over? Hoof rot is actually caused by 2 different bacteria. They kind of work together in a evil agreement that they have with one another. What ends up happening is one bacteria gets in due to a wound or a small cut, and then it allows the other bacteria to get in. And these bacteria are a special kind of bacteria. We call them anaerobic bacteria. That means without oxygen. And so they really thrive in these areas where it's not getting much fresh air in there. So I'm gonna start off slow and just kind of go from there. So I just clean out what I can, the basics. I've got my hoof trimmers here, and I just had them on the ground. So I like to just give them a quick spray down with antiseptic spray just to make sure that I'm not introducing anything. And so what I like to do just to get started is I like to take just a clip off the toe, just like that, and you can see how that opens up that channel and allows me to get in there and get working. And then I'm just gonna go in. So I'm gonna take my tips, being cautious. You don't have to take it all off in one fell swoop. Just gonna take some of this off, get in there and see what I'm dealing with. Nope. These are right-handed clippers, so they only want to cut in one direction. So as I come up this way, it's going to work best for me to come back down this way. It's going to cut a little bit better. And I'm just taking a little bit off at a time, just so I can get in there and I can see what I'm dealing with. Now you see a little bit of red coloration. That's not blood. That's actually just from my nippers, because the antiseptic spray that I used was Scarlex. So there you can see I'm not in there, I'm not into the blood, but you can see that capillary bed is showing up. So that's telling me, hey buddy, this is about as far as you're gonna be able to go. I get asked a lot about these heels, and they say, well, how much can you take off of the heel? Well, every animal is different. So you can see how I really didn't get to go down very far, and I'm already at that capillary bed, and that's where you gotta be careful. If I would have just taken my hoof boss to this girl, or my grinder to this girl, and just started going nuts, she would have been bleeding. She would have had an open sore, absolutely, 100%. So you got to be cautious. Same thing over here on the other side. Now it may take her, assuming somebody's going to actually keep her, it may take her a while. There's that capillary bed. See how close we are right there to that bloodline? It may take her a while to get her hooves back where they need to be. I'm going to cut a little bit of this extra off just because they're so bad. It's not perfectly flat as I would like to have it, but it's going to take a while for her to get where she needs to be. Again, you just got to go slow. You don't want to hurt her. Right there, the capillary bed. I mean, if I would have went a section, just a hair farther, I would have got down in there and she would have been bleeding. Okay, so one hoof done. Look at that. So look at this hoof now compared to the other one. A little bit of a difference, right? I'll probably speed this up for you guys so you don't have to watch, but we'll go now back to this other back hoof. It's all right. Let me move my bucket here. I can kind of put her leg up on my leg here to let her go. Again, same thing, like, wow, where to start, right? Get your tool. Pick out what you can. Be careful. She may have a rock in there. She may have, it's hard sand. And you gotta be careful because you can cut yourself. And you don't want to do that. So I'm gonna take these tips off just a touch, just enough to get in there to see what I'm dealing with. And it looks like I'm gonna have to do a little bit of guesswork here to kind of see where in the heck I need to be. So these have been overgrown for so long, you can see that her foot is really, the whole foot is kind of off, kind of sitting weird sideways. She hasn't had any choice but to, that pastern has tried to accommodate for that. Already at the capillary bed, you can see that redness right there. So that's about as far down as I'm going to be able to go for her. I'm just going to try to flatten this off. Nope, we got a baby that found her. It's all right, honey. I think that the back feet are harder than the front, for the comfort of the animal. The way that foot bends back and that leg bends back. We don't ever want a blind cut. You need to see what you're working on. If you're going to be making cuts, you gotta be able to see what you're working on. Okay. Healthy feet. I mean, everything looks great. The structure is healthy. She's healthy. Don't see any signs of mange mite or anything like that in the legs. The hair looks good. So I'd call that a win. You can see how much better so you can see how she's still breaking a little bit to her side. It's going to take a while for her to get where she needs to be before she starts standing right again. And unfortunately, what I really need to do is I need to take down some more of this outside edge. But I can kind of even that up as time goes on. As this grows up a little bit more, I can flatten this out and see if we can get her where she needs to be. So not perfect, but fairly good. So I'm gonna do the other back foot and we're gonna pick back up. I don't think you need to necessarily watch that one, but I do want you to watch the front foot on her passenger side and get a look for that one, because that one looks really bad. So we're gonna fast forward through this and we'll get over there and take a look at that. So Tessa, now she'll just switch sides. So now she's on the driver's side, I'm on the passenger side. Oof. Yeah, maybe we should include this in the video. Wowzers. I mean, look at that. That is, it's all just folded over. I mean, we're talking, these might have not been trimmed for, I don't even know, years. It's impossible for me to know. Overgrown hooves. This can be signs of chronic acidosis in the animal when they get things like laminitis and problems with the feet. It can be caused by long-term high acidity in the rumen. We talk about feeding animals free choice sodium bicarb. I think that is important. Studies have shown that that helps with overall hoof health, but golly, look at that. So yeah, where do you start with that? This one's going to be a little different. Actually, I think I'm going to start with this one. I think I'm going to start from the back and kind of work my way forward. I will still take a little nip off of that toe just to get me opened up and see what I'm looking at. But I can tell, yep, so right there, I'm starting to see some of that capillary bed there. Yeah, that's about as deep as I'm going to be able to go. You can see the blood right there. This is why you've really got to keep up on your animal's hooves, because if you don't, you can cause some serious long-term problems. So I'm going to call that good right there. So we're dealing with two problems here today. One is we've got our hoof is indeed overgrown, but the other thing is this has been a chronic problem for her, and that hoof is growing in bad because of the way that foot is setting. Went a little too deep there. Doesn't look like I got it into any blood per se, but it's about as deep as I'm going to want to go. Again, overall hoof health is good. Toe looks great. It's going to take a while to straighten this thing up. I'm just doing the best that I can do dealing with the hand that I was dealt. Sometimes that's all you can do. But you can see how the hoof itself is malformed now, and it's kind of rocking out because the way that it's been overgrown for so long. Hopefully over time this will correct, but again, I don't know. Hard to say. Wow. Alrighty, so that is some of the worst stuff I have ever seen. Wow. That is really something. That is really something. I'm going to do the best I can to... Wow. That's all I can say. Wow. Yeah. Looks like she's wearing flip-flops. That is some hard hoof too. So now the trick is getting a start, getting down in there and opening this up. Wow. So you can see I'm already getting down into some blood there. And sometimes it's not actually down too far. Sometimes it is, wowzers, what we call a false bloodline. So we may not truly be down into the capillary bed here. How in the world this animal doesn't have hoof rot is absolutely beyond me. So you can see the blood lines, it's just the hoof itself is just malformed. I mean, it's gonna take us a long time, or whoever ends up with this animal, it's gonna take them a long time, if ever, to be able to get that hoof right again. These are not the prettiest hooves I've ever done, but again, what are you gonna do? We're trying to fix years of problems here with one trimming, and that's just not possible. So we've got that one down. Now we're gonna try to tackle this. I've really got to be careful. Luckily, she's a white hoof, not a black hoof, and I can actually see what I'm working with here a little bit better. Let's take a look and see what we got. So much better than we had before, but again, you can see how that foot is splaying out, and again, that's because she's been overgrown for so long. The structure of the foot itself has actually started to go out that way. And I don't dare go any farther, you can see. I'm pushing the limits right there. That's about the best I'm gonna be able to do with her, but she is way better off than she was before. And over time, she should start to correct. You can see how she's broken in her pastern here, how she's not really sitting up on that foot correctly as we'd like to see. She's rocked way back out, and that's just from those hooves being chronically overgrown. But overall, yeah, she'd fool somebody. Doesn't look too bad. Bag feels good. Overall, health-wise, she's not too bad. And her hooves, she doesn't have any chronic problems like hoof rot that I can see. Doesn't appear that she's had hoof rot before. So yeah, that is what you would do. So now she would go into quarantine. She'd be in quarantine for about 30 days. She's going to get her CD&T vaccine probably next week. And then right before we take her to the sale barn, she'll get another CDT to make sure she's good to go. And that will be that. So I hope you enjoyed this today. I hope this was educational for you, gave you a little bit of insight. I am Tim from Linessa Farm Specialty and Heirloom Livestock. Thanks for joining us again. And I look forward to seeing all of you again next time.